We are now joined by a Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, and he joins us via our Zoom line. Deputy Minister, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Of course, one being in particular something that tragic that has really sparked the people of Tshwane are those deaths coming out of Hammanskraal. You know, I think the most important thing here is to ask, why have the people of Hammanskraal not been prioritized for such a long time? The issue of water is nothing new in this area.
No, thank you very much, Mbali. The issue of water, we are correct, is not a matter that has been new. There's been interaction with the city of Tshwane over a number of years, trying to assist the municipality to address these issues. And in the main, we know now that the wastewater treatment works in many municipalities, including Tshwane, they are overcapacitated. They are not operating at the right level. And the example of the communities of Hammanskraal, we know that the system in the Rooiwal that feeds into the Abyss into Temba, the water in that particular system has not been fit for human consumption for quite some time, despite the fact that the municipality made a decision that that water could be used for other issues like laundry and gardening. But the incident that has happened is very regrettable because it could have been avoided if the Water Services Authority would have risen to its obligation to provide clean water to its citizens. We are now on the ground and we've put a task team that is looking at these issues. As the Minister of Water, Comrade Senzo Mchunu, directed me and Judy Chabalala, and the Minister of Health directed Dr. Lomo to work with the province, the MEC them, including the Department of Social Development. Minister Zulu has directed that we should be able to work together to be able to respond to the current situation, especially the health crisis around the number of people that are going to the health facilities in terms of the capacity. But we must also be able to deal with the issues of the possible spread beyond the area of Hammanskraal to the other parts of Gauteng and outside Gauteng. The issue of water, in the short term, we've made a decision to say someone must be held accountable for this particular incident. That's why Minister Mchunu has asked us to ensure that we put an investigation team to investigate with a team of experts that were on the ground today, have taken water samples to isolate the system, both the rainwater system, Mahali system, including the Hammanskraal system, so that we know what is the source of this contamination, whether it was coming from whatever the system. But the other immediate issue was to ensure that there is a provision of water, and the water that is fit for human consumption in terms of sound standard, in terms of drinking water. In the short term, we've agreed as a collective that water will be provided by the water tankering, and they are going to be abstracting water from the rainwater pipe that we have certain ourselves that that pipe is free of contamination in the Mahalis line. But the issues on how this water must be handled when it gets into the trucks and the water tanks are there, whether the trucks are clean, by the time it arrives in communities, the issues of health and hygiene, including the other storage facilities that are there. Those are the issues. But in the medium to the long term, Bali, the minister this week will meet with the mayor then. The mayor has decided to work with us. It's a new mayor. Remember, there's been these revolving doors.
And Deputy Minister, that's where I was also coming. That's where I was also coming because, you know, we've heard from a number of the residents, they were saying that because of the instability here in the city of Tshwane, the DA-run municipality is not willing to work with the likes of an ANC province or an ANC leadership. And we've also heard from the mayor himself saying that last week he met with the Minister for Water. What is the relationship like now? Is everybody willing to set aside, their political allegiance and to actually deal with the problem at hand here in Hammanskraal?
Our attitude as a Minister of Water is that water must never be politicized water is a human rights issue in our land, and citizens can't be denied water on the basis of religion, in terms of race, in terms of beliefs, or political affiliation. It can't happen in our country. In the past, there have been a number of mayors that were there. When these problems were pointed initially, they were in denial that the water was polluted them. I remember early in 2019, I went to the plant myself. After the CSIRS done certain things, the Portfolio Committee on Water, ultimately the South African Human Rights Commission, we agreed on a plan that was supposed to be implemented. That leadership at the time in the administration started to do some work after there was a pressure from communities. In the middle of the implementation, the municipalities decided to default. There was no implementation. And when we insisted that they must do this thing because pollution continues, they never responded. We then decided to give them directives, which is an instrument in law, to say, put a remedial action plan. They will put it, but there will be no implementation. Ultimately, we're forced, so that we cannot be accused that we're capable ourselves of not responding to the situation. We took the municipality to court. We lodged our papers so that we could formally be in a position to intervene, because they refused the intervention. Ultimately, the new mayor who has just came in now after this revolving door has met with the minister. His attitude has been very positive, to say, let's get out of court. The DG has been assigned in our case by Minister Mtunu and the mayor, the MM. They are finalizing this comprehensive plan. In the short term, that infrastructure is not working. And that plan will then be signed to become a plan of a response. Then we'll unlock funding, because the municipality has inadequate funding to deal with these things. But because of a bad experience, and you don't know whether the mayor tomorrow will still be a mayor, we want this plan to respond, to become a declaratory order by the court of law, so that whoever comes in at a particular point, they will not renege. Then whoever reneges, it becomes a contempt of court.
And Deputy Minister, I'm sure residents now that we have seen this problem in Hammanskraal, the residents in Gauteng want to actually know what is actually being done to contain the spread. What is the department doing immediately to stop this from spreading throughout the province and to other parts of the country?
We are having a multi-pronged approach. One of the approach that is happening is that there is a tracing them from the epicenter by the Department of Health, led by the ministry, including the MEC, because we know that there is an example where Dr. Domo was mentioning that someone had moved from this province to Limpopo and became a carrier. And we are also going to ensure that there is going to be a lot of communication and civic awareness, that how people must handle the issues of hygiene, how do you handle food, that it must be clean. When you go to public facilities, how do you ensure that they're in good condition, but how to boil water. On our side, we see that the example that is happening in this area of Hammanskraal, it might happen elsewhere in the other parts of our country. We'll direct all municipalities that are water services authorities to ensure that, one, their water is clean. Wherever they are using the tankering services, or where these tankers, they fetch water, that water must be properly treated. And they will have to ensure, because that's what the law requires to do. But we will then be in a position to work with the long-term issues. How are we dealing with issues of water pollution in South Africa? That is on an increase, because most of our wastewater systems are not working. And we will also work with the institutions of higher learning and the other aspects to support our municipalities.
All right, then. Thank you very much. That is the Deputy Minister there for Water and Sanitation, David Mahlobo, just giving us an update on the situation in Hammanskraal.